You are listening to The Writer's Block. I am horror author James Hershey Jr. It's time for a truth bomb. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Writer's Block. I am your host, horror author James Hershey Jr., and I am joined today on the episode by old boy James Ash, a good buddy of mine from the We're Screwed radio show. So, everybody, welcome, old boy. How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. How you doing, buddy? How you guys doing?
I'm all right. Pretty much nothing. Just doing the show, as always. How was your Christmas, bro? I haven't talked to you since.
It was pretty good. Spent some time with the family for 2 nights, and then the girlfriend came over. It's pretty much just normal Christmas. My daughter was there. Got a couple of things. Nothing amazing, and just did the family thing. How about you?
I had a different Christmas this year. Like every year we do the big meal where we have the turkey, the ham, the whole nine. This year it was very warm here in Virginia for Christmas. It was like in the high 50s. So I decided to have a good old Texas Christmas the way I used to when I lived in San Antonio. So I fired up my big ass grill. I got this big old propane grill, dude. It's got multiple burners. It's just badass. And so I fired that puppy up, and I went down to the to my local butcher, Crable's, and I picked up some gigantic, beautiful steaks, man. I had a filet mignon. I had some nice Delmonico's. They looked like brontosaurus steaks, man. They were huge. And so I threw all that jazz on the grill, man, and we had a wonderful cookout for Christmas. It was nice because it felt like it was the middle of summer,
And the funny thing is, on Christmas Eve, it snowed at my house in California. So that should
that is so nuts.
29 degrees. It was freezing here. The one night it was 18 degrees at one time. So and it was raining tonight. It's been getting cold. It's freezing here in California. So it should show you how crazy the weather's been. Yeah, it snowed on Christmas Eve. I had to work till 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. I got off, and then we went to the parents' house, and they made Jewish wedding soup. I don't know if you're ever familiar with it. It's really good. And then he made a big old pot prime rib and shrimp the next day on Christmas. It was really good Christmas. So
nice. It's funny how we always remember the meals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you get a really good gift or you give a really good gift, you remember that as well. But a lot of it just kind of fades away, and like months and months later, you'll be messing with some little gadget that you got for Christmas or something, and then you're like, who the hell got this for me? I don't even remember. But you remember the meal if it was good.
Did you get any Xbox games?
Yeah, actually, I bought the new XCOM 2 game for Xbox. I love the XCOM games because they're like the old Command and Conquer games where it's like strategy and it's like a war game. I love that, so I bought that for myself. And I bought my wife Forza 6 because she's really into the Forza games. She can't race for shit. I mean, she's a horrible driver on the game. It's terrible. She hits everything. But she just loves buying the cars and fixing them up and painting them and all that jazz. So, I do most of the racing and earn her all the money, and then she just spends it on pretty paint. Pretty much just like real life. I do all the work and earn all the money, and she just spends it.
Well, that's it. That's how life is. That's how it's made. So we all know that. But if I can, if you want to get a game, get yourself pick. I don't know if you like RPG, but it's also third person. Get that Witcher special edition. It's only about $29, but you'll really like it. It's a long game. It's really fun. It's about I don't know if you like it's a witch. He's like a witch hunter basically, but it's really fun. It's really adult themed, so you probably like it. Kind of like old.
Is it turn-based, or is it like free play?
It's both. It's weird. It's three-way. It's third person. Basically, you can do stuff, but you can also do turn-based too. It's both of it. It's both. You could do either or. It's really weird. It's a really
Sounds
weird game. It's a
cool.
third. You'll like it.
See,
Yeah, if you like.
I like the turn-based stuff because I don't like they took Final Fantasy, right, which was one of my favorite
Yeah.
games, and because it was turn-based and it was really cool. You could build up stats. I'm a big stats nerd. I love stats, so you could build up all the stats, and I mean you could just take forever, 150-hour gameplay easy. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
took a game that was that beautiful and they ruined it the last couple by making it all free roaming where you just run around and you fight
Yeah.
instead of having a turn-based combat like a role-playing game's supposed to be. It's all like I feel like I'm playing Call of Duty or something now with swords. You know what I mean? You run around and you have to actually fight and attack people. I don't like that. I like the old style, RPGs that were turn-based and you're building experience points to gain levels and gain spells and gain all this stuff. That's what I'm into.
You'll like Witcher. It's a little bit. You have the roaming because it's just how games are made. But you have a lot of the RPG. You got to do a lot of things. It's very adultish. You can get a wife, all kinds of crazy stuff. But it has like 500 hours worth of gameplay or 300 or something like that. It's got a lot of gameplay. So if you want to get lost in the game, you probably will with that game. So, it's just
Yeah.
for something to play. It's on $30, bro. So, I mean, it's not like you're busting the bank, like you're paying 70 for the new ones. But you're right. A lot of these games, they changed the new Final Fantasy. It's not like that anymore. It's just a third person. You run around killing everything. That's basically how the new Final Fantasy is. So,
And it
I
sucks
don't
because
know.
I love those games, man. And some run around killing stuff's okay. Like I play Skyrim. I love Skyrim. The Elder Scrolls. It's
Yeah.
a great game. Um, that isn't turn based. That's actual combat. But in that I
Yeah.
have a bow and I can stand back and shoot people, and it's all fun. But if it's made well, then that's cool. But like with Final Fantasy, another thing that I don't like is it used to be you could go in an area that had good monsters that you could fight and get a lot of experience and gold, and you could just run back and forth and keep getting in battles. Well, now in the new ones, you can't do that, man. You run and you kill everything in that area, and you're just screwed. You got to leave the area and go someplace else because they don't reappear.
Yeah. Well, with The Witcher 3, it's kind of like Skyrim. It's just a little bit different. There's a lot of RPG more in it. There's more. It's just a really fun game, and you have to. It's more technical, so you'll like it. It's kind of harder. It's kind of like Dark Souls and stuff like that. I don't know if you're familiar with those games. You got to use a lot of mathematics in those games. It's really something you'll probably like. It's just a crazy game. You fight like old school monsters and stuff like that. Something you'll probably like. You might want to try it. Just check it out. I'm just giving you an idea. It's a pretty good game. I heard. I
Yeah,
played it. My daughter has it.
I'll have to give it a look. I went to the video store the other day, right? And I rented some movies. I got the new Snowden. That I watched that. That was a pretty decent flick. I mean, I already knew that story because I followed it, very closely,
Yeah.
and it was cool. The cool thing I liked about Snowden was a lot of the information that they got out in that movie. I mean, I've never seen a movie that is more on point as far as what's actually happening in real life. Stuff that the news doesn't report. Stuff that in some cases up until very recently was classified material. And they put it
Yeah.
in this movie, and to me that blew me away because you never see that, man. You never see a movie that is actually real like that really tells you what's going on. And Snowden,
Yeah.
if the audience, if you guys haven't seen that movie, check it out. You'll see what our government's actually up to. As far as the NSA spying on you and stuff, it's insane. And I knew the stuff from the movie before I watched the movie because I'm really big into that stuff, conspiracy and,
Yeah.
and government stuff. So I knew all this stuff before, but to actually see it in a movie, I mean, it blew me away. Like I said, I've never seen any movie that had the guts to really tell it like it actually is. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm surprised they let that thing get made, to be honest with you.
Well, I am too. You know what? I just saw that. I'm gonna have to check that out. I haven't got to see it yet, but I've heard about it. But it's on the TV. I'm gonna check that out. Good. Thanks for letting me know. You want to hear something weird? Remember what we were talking about? I think it was last week on my show about the Illuminati and stuff. You want to know the next day I got hit up by somebody from the Illuminati?
Really?
You, I swear to God. They
What did he
said
say?
they were, but they offered me to be in it, and it was kind of weird. It was on like Instagram, but it was just weird how we and you talked about it. and it was really weird how our internet kept messing up at the end. But I don't care if people hear it. Somebody hit me up saying they were part of the Illuminati and were offering me to be in it. That was kind of weird because we were talking about it the next day. I thought that was kind of weird.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I don't know. I like I told you earlier. I know they listen to us because when we talk about certain things, they don't want us talking about. But that's what happens when you're a patriot. So
yeah, see, I've never been contacted by the Illuminati. They've never hit me up and offered me to join or anything. And you would think that they would because I'm pretty big, you know what I mean? But I guess because I'm constantly hammering the New World Order and all that stuff, man. I'm constantly putting that stuff out there for the public. So they probably don't want no parts of me. They're probably like, we're not going to offer you anything, dude. We'll kill you, but we're not going to offer you anything.
Yeah, they know you're too far gone. You're not gonna fall into their bullshit. I won't either, but they did. I thought it was weird. I just thought it was a weird coincidence. It could have been fake too. So
yeah, I'll tell you one thing that was crazy. One day we did a episode of Revolution Talk Radio, and we were talking about HAARP. I don't know if you caught that episode. It was quite a while ago, but we were talking about HAARP, and I mean, I really put some stuff out there that probably some of it I shouldn't have put out there because not all of it was 100% okay to talk about. You know what I mean on the air, but I kind of got caught up in the moment and really let a lot out, and it was a great show. I mean, it was a great show, and the very next day, because we do that show at night. So the very next day when I got up and I went out to do my stuff for the day, I looked up and I noticed I had literally dozens and dozens of chemtrails above my house, like all over the place, and that's not something that normally happens where I live. I mean, I don't live in a city. I live in the mountains. I live way out away from everything. And usually I might see one or two once in a while, but I never see a whole lot. But, I mean, that day, right after that show, I mean, literally, I looked up in the sky, and there was dozens of chemtrails, and big, thick ones, too. Everywhere I looked, they were crisscrossing the sky, and I was like, oh, man, I must have pissed somebody off with that show.
Yeah. I heard it. They also have these drones where, 100 can come out at one target. I was reading something about this. So it might have been that too. You never know. They do watch you, man. Trust me. If you say stuff they don't like, they'll come after you. They'll do it in other ways, though. They'll try to set you up first. They won't try to kill you. They'll try to bribe you or try to get you to change your mind. And that's what they do. But you're right. You're too far gone. You're too far the other side, so they know they can't buy you anymore. So I think that is kind of weird. You had trolls, and then that happened to me. We were talking about all this stuff. It is kind of weird.
Yeah, they might not be able to buy me, but it's still kind of insulting. I haven't been offered. You know what I mean? It's like when you go to a gay bar, or if you're in an area where there's a lot of gay people, and you're straight, you don't want them to hit on you because you're straight. But when nobody even notices you, you're kind of insulted almost. You're like, hey, wait a minute, what the hell? I'm not gay or anything, but what? Am I not even good enough to fucking look at? Come on.
That's pretty funny. I am surprised because you do have all those books, and you're famous through, your writing also, and your radio show. So you never had anybody when you were writing your books ever hit you up some weird
I've had
things
some.
or anything?
I've had some
Never?
things, but never. I've never had anybody come up and say, "Hey, we're with the Illuminati. You want to join?" You know what I mean, or anything like that. I mean, I've had big producers talk to me about movie deals for the books. I've had those kind of meetings and talks. I've had talks about going on different TV shows and all that kind of stuff. But I've never had anybody come right out and say, "Hey, you want to join this secret society?" or anything like that. I mean, I did at one time have an offer from the Freemasons to join them. But that was before I ever started writing or anything, because I actually had a family member that was a member of the Freemasons, and they tried to get me into the Freemasons. And at the time, I was younger. This was back when I was a teenager, and I had no idea what the hell the Freemasons were. I just thought, when I heard Freemasons, I thought that goofy ass lodge that's in the Flintstones cartoons where they wear the big hats and all that goofy stuff. That's what I thought it was something like that. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. Get the hell out of here with that shit. You know what I mean? And then later on, as I got older and I started, my life and my experiences that I've had that have taught me all these things, and doing all this research, then I realized what the hell it was. And I'm like, oh my God, I almost joined, the Freemasons, for God's sakes. I could have been in one of these, secret societies that I always talk about. But no, I've never had the Illuminati come up to me and offer me anything, anywhere. It's kind of funny. I mean, I've been in contact with members of Anonymous and people like that, who have fed me information and stuff to get out, but I've never had anybody that I know of from the Illuminati offer me anything. If they were from the Illuminati, they never said they were. You know what I mean?
It could have been, it could have just an internet thing too. So, I mean, I didn't take it for serious, but with the Masons, that's funny you say that, because you're not the only one. About a couple of years back, I got offered to be a Mason. And that was before I started doing the radio show. I was barely getting popular with the horror group, but I used to talk a lot about gun rights. Well, one day a Mason came up, and you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to ask somebody to be in. He goes, I can't tell you to be in it, but I can, I can guide you in, but I'll get you in because who your family is. My family is in the Masons. But I told him, no, I'm not into it, because I know about the Freemasons. The Scottish Masons are all right. They don't get along too well. The Reich or whatever, the Scottish Rite Masons, there's two different Masons. You know that, right? The Scottish Rite or whatever they call them. They're a different. Yeah, they're a different kind of Mason, but they don't. I know the Freemasons are not good. I've tried to tell that to somebody I'm friends with. I'm not going to say who they are. That it's not a good idea for them to join, but it's their choice if they're going to join. I can't force somebody, They're going to do what they're going to do. I've given my opinions, but, I'm not going to say too much about the Masons, because, there's some things you don't want to talk about.
Yeah, see, for me, it was literally, hey, we want you to come on down here and join, and we'll set up a day for you to come. And I mean, the whole nine. I mean, it was, all I had to do was say yes, and basically it would have been set up. You know what I mean? And it was weird because, like I said, at the time I didn't know what it was, but they were really pushing me to join up. I mean, at the time I was a musician. That's what I did for a living back then. I played music, and they wanted me something fierce back then. And I mean, I just flat out told them, no, there's no chance. I don't want anything to do with you guys. You know what I mean? But I didn't realize what the Freemasons were at that time. I thought it was some goofy little thing that was going to be lame as hell, and I didn't want anything to do with that because it was stupid. You know what I mean? I had no idea just how powerful the Freemasons are and exactly what they are. You know what I mean? I had no idea back then. If I would have known back then, I would have been a lot nicer. When I turned them down, I wouldn't have been a dick about it. You know what I mean? Because I was kind of like, get out of here. You guys are lame as hell. I don't want anything to do with you. You know what I mean?
Well, if you think about it, if you did that, that's probably why they don't talk to you anymore. They know you're basically not going to do it. They know that you're for the other side, and when they know that, then you're an enemy. You're never going to change your opinion, and we both know that. You're for the right side, and they don't see it that way, and that's why I said, trust me, but they do listen to us. Don't think they don't. I proved it yesterday. You know that they didn't contact. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead, bro. I was just gonna say,
even though they didn't.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, if they are listening, hello, hello Illuminati, hello Freemasons. I apologize. Just because I'm a good human being, I apologize for the way I turned the Freemasons down all them years ago. I didn't realize who you guys were or what you guys do. I thought you were some silly lodge like off the Flintstones. So I'm still not saying I would have joined back then, but I was rather rude about it, and I apologize for that.
Well, what I was going to say is they even though they didn't contact you, they contacted me. They were listening to our show, so actually they were listening to you. They just didn't contact you. They just contacted me. What I thought was weird because it was just kind of a coincidental. We were talking about that, and then all of a sudden the next day, some guys, "Oh, you want to join Illuminati?" And I'm like, "No," and I just blocked him. So
You're like, block.
it was kind of weird.
See, I would have so many questions.
No.
If they would
No.
if they would contact me and say, "Hey, you want to join up?" I'd be like, "Hey, I want to talk to you because I've got so many freaking questions for you." You know what I mean? There's so many things that I don't know or don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure I know that I would love to clear up. You know what I mean? Now, most likely they wouldn't tell me anything, but my God, would I have some questions? You know?
Well, we all would. It would, but they're not going to tell us what we want to hear. They're going to say, "Well, you either join or I don't know what they'd say. I don't want nothing to do with them. I know what they're about. I know what they're capable of doing, and that's why I said I don't care to ever talk to them. I don't care if they're listening or not.
Could you imagine how much trouble I would constantly be in? Like, I would always be like going to the Illuminati principal office, you know? They would always be like, "All right, you done messed up again. God dang it. Why can't you ever just shut up?" Because I'd get all fired up and start talking, and next thing you know, I'd be in trouble.
Yeah, but the problem is you believe in God, so they wouldn't let you in anyway. The Masons will. Don't get me wrong, the Masons will. They have that's, but the Illuminati is a whole different story. That's the other side of it, bro. That's why I said that they'll pretend that you'll let you believe in God, but now the Masons, you can believe anything unless you're not. I do know this. Because my friend's a Wiccan witch and he's in it. You can believe in anything as long as you believe in something. You just can't be an atheist. You can't say you don't believe in anything. You can believe in Buddha. You can believe in God, Judas, Jews, Catholics. You can even be a Wiccan or pagan, and they'll let you in. If you say you don't believe in a God or anything, they don't let you in. That's the only way you don't get in. So that's the only thing I could tell you about that. I do know that for a fact because my friend has, he kind of told me a little bit, but that's nothing big. So I know that you can be a Mason, as long as you believe in something. If you don't believe that God doesn't never exist, they won't let you in. If you don't believe in anything, you just believe it. We're from apes, and that's what happened, and that's that they're not going to let you in. And that's a whole different world there. That's like or Scientology stuff. They don't let you in. So basically, they do have some things you have to you have to believe in something. So I think it's kind of weird though. I think the whole Freemason thing's weird and it's crazy. A lot of people who are involved in it. There was a lot of stories about them. And like I said, I just don't get into there because that's a whole new world, and I can't really talk about it because somebody certain close to me is involved in them. So I don't really want to say nothing. So I'll just keep my mouth shut on that. You can say whatever you want. You're going to anyway, but that's on you.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to stop me sometimes, ain't it? Now, see, the thing with the Illuminati, right?
Once you get going, you go.
The thing with the Illuminati is, it's like they are, like you say, on the other side. So, like, I'm a Christian. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. And they're on the other side where they're satanic as hell. And so it's kind of like if you believe in God, they won't let you join. But in a way, they kind of believe in God, too. Because if you believe in Satan and demons and you believe in God, you just don't agree with God. But see, that's the thing that doesn't make any sense. Like if you read the Bible, you know that their side loses. So why the hell would you join the losing side? That makes absolutely no sense.
Because the devil doesn't think he's going to lose. You know that, right? He thinks he's still going to win. Think about it. He got 1/3 of God's angels to leave heaven. So he has power. And I have a whole, and you know what, I want to get, we'll get into that in a minute. And and here's a real twist you're going to get on what I believe, but I believe that they don't think they're going to lose. And if you ever notice, A lot of these stars, they always wear glasses. You want to know why, right? So they think they don't want to be seen because they're hiding their shame, and they don't want. It's a thing to hide your face from God. Basically, you're hiding so God doesn't see. Still sees you. That doesn't save you. But what I'm saying is they're hiding from shame. That's why you always see all these like Jay-Z. All these people are supposedly in it. They have glasses on. You ever notice that they have glasses on during the day? Can't all these guys? They all wear glasses, and that's what I was reading about. I looked that up on YouTube, and they've done so many nasty things because they have some weird things going on in the Illuminati, but you know, but you can't always believe everything you hear. People exaggerate shit. But when you have Tequila, what's her name? Tina Tequila coming out saying they exist, and I'm not saying she's the smartest person in the world, and I like her. But why all of a sudden when this lady come out of nowhere after her wife she was married to some girl and she died and came out and said the Illuminati was the reason, and she said it, and they discredited her. But why all of a sudden when somebody that had nothing to do with, you would never think, she was just a partier, say something like that? Because and then people, oh, she's crazy, and but why would she make that up? I just don't see somebody that doesn't even care about that stuff would start talking about that. And what I'm saying is exactly, it's just, it isn't good. And you're right, they do believe in God, they're just against him. They'll say they believe in God, but they're really not. They're not for him. But like I said, the devil can do a lot of things. He thinks he's going to win anyway. I mean, they think they're going to win by, God tells the devil, their God, the devil, tells a lot of things, a lot of lies. You know that he got Eve to eat out of the apple. That's, he convinced her to. So, and then we listened to, Adam and Eve. So, he has a lot of power, man. He makes a lot of people think they're going to get somewhere, and money's going to be they're all savior. Look at all these people who are rich; they're dying. And not every one, but a lot of them are dying from drug overdose or suicide because they're not happy in their life. And, money doesn't make you happy. It helps. Don't get me wrong. We all want money to, live. We need to live. But it's not worth selling your soul for. I don't know. I know you agree with that. So.
Yeah, I don't spend very much at all. You know that. I'm very cheap. And to me, money is just a tool.
Yeah.
To pay bills and to make sure that we have a roof over our head. Really, it's not. If you're taking and getting happiness from buying something, that happiness is never going to last. I'm happiest when I'm just out in the woods by myself. I don't have to spend a penny. I can go out there and get dirty and build a little shelter and just camp out for several days out in the mountain by myself. With no human beings in sight, man, I'm in heaven. That's amazing to me, And these people that have to spend to be happy, you're never gonna fill that hole you're trying to fill with money. No matter how much you make, you're always gonna want more, and it's never gonna be enough for you. I don't give a damn about money, to be honest with you. I just want enough to be able to pay my bills, and I can do that. I'm okay. So I don't give a shit about it. I care more about love. I care more about helping people. I care more about the truth than I care about material things. Because here's the thing about life, man. None of us get out of this thing alive. We all die in the end. No matter what you do, if you could be a marathon runner and eat the perfect foods and never do a thing wrong, you're still going to die. It doesn't matter. There's no way to stop death. It's going to happen to every single one of us. Now, what you have to wonder is what happens after you die. You know what I mean? Because the only way that you can beat death is through Jesus. Because through Jesus you'll have a place in heaven. You'll be raised again. That is the only way you can beat death. And the other way, there's absolutely no chance. You're going to die, you'll be dead, and then you're going to burn in the lake of fire for all eternity. You know what I mean? That's what the Bible tells us. So, for me, I'm putting my money on Jesus. He's the only one that can save me. You know what I mean? I'm going to die no matter what happens. Whether I'm a good boy, whether I'm a bad boy, whether I do what I want when I want, or whether I follow all the rules, I'm still going to die. Now, the question is, what's going to happen to me after that? You know what I mean? And if you really think about it, our lifetime here on Earth is only a blink of an eye. in terms of eternity. We spend way more time dead than we ever spend alive.
Yeah.
So, in my mind, it makes more sense to be preparing for eternity than it makes sense to be building up treasure here on earth that you're never going to be able to take with you when you die. Because when you die, we're all poor. You know what I mean? We have nothing when we die. No matter if you're a billionaire, it doesn't matter. Because when you die, that money stays here on earth and you're not here anymore. You're either going to be in heaven or you're going to be burning. Those are your two options. And the way I look at it, for somebody that doesn't believe in God, then if you go along that path and you're not saved, you know what I mean, you haven't accepted Jesus as your Savior, you're screwed. If it all ends and you're right as the atheist is right, and there is no God, there is no heaven, there is no hell, then they just cease to exist. Then what have I lost by believing in Jesus and living a good life, helping people and being happy? What have I lost? Nothing. But if I'm right and there is a heaven and hell, then what has the atheist lost? They've lost all eternity. They're doomed to burn for eternity. You know what I mean? I think it's a much better choice to trust Jesus and to accept him as your Savior, because if they do exist, if God does exist, and you haven't done that, you're screwed, But if you have, then you're good. And I mean, that to me, it just makes complete and perfect sense. It's called hedging your bets, really, in gambling. You got
you have nothing to lose.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You have nothing to lose. You have nothing to lose if you believe in God. So if there isn't, at least you still believed in. So what? You didn't lose anything, And I see what you're saying, and you're right. I mean, if you say you're right. If he dies and he's right, then you know what? Big deal. Well, you're not going to care anyway. You're going to be dead, so it's not going to matter anyway. So I mean, as long as you believed in what you believed in, that's what you believed in, and that's why that's the right way to die, I guess. If you believe in, as long as that's what you believe in. I'm not sitting here preaching to anybody. Don't think I am. And you're going to go to hell, or I'm not that person to say that, because I'm not supposed to judge. I just tell what I believe. And if you believe in something different, that's what you're going to believe. We'll find out like you said, James, we'll find out when we die. Even if I was wrong, at least I died the way I wanted to live. You know what I mean?
Yep. That's what I'm saying. How is it a bad thing?
True. It's a valid point.
To embrace a philosophy of love? Right? I mean, that's what Christianity is at its core. I'm not talking about these big mega churches that judge everybody. I'm talking about real Christianity. I'm talking about the Bible. Okay, I'm talking about Jesus. It's about love. Jesus said, love your neighbor as you love yourself. You know what I mean? And love God with all your heart. And that's what you got to do. Those are what the commandments you're supposed to be following. See, people think that when you talk religion, they think 10 commandments. They think, I could never be a Christian because I break all kinds of commandments all the time. You know what I mean? I could never live up to that. But that's the beauty of Christianity, man, is you don't have to live up to anything. You know what I mean? The whole idea here is that we're all sinners, okay? We're all screw-ups. I am saved, okay? I am a Christian. But that doesn't mean that I'm any better than the worst criminal out there. I'm a sinner just like they are. Okay? And I'm not perfect by any means. I still sin almost on a daily basis, no matter whether I want to or not. I can't stop myself because I'm human. We are always going to sin. We're going to covet. We're going to, be jealous about things. Jesus said if you speak to a man in anger, you've committed murder in your soul. I mean, all of us are going to sin. There's nothing we can do to stop that. If we could stop sinning, then we wouldn't need Jesus. You know what I mean? So it's about forgiveness. It's about you accepting Jesus as your Savior and being washed in his blood so that your sins are forgiven. When the person that isn't saved dies, he's accountable for all his sins in his life because he hasn't accepted that gift of salvation. See, Jesus died on the cross for me, for you, for every human being because we can't behave our damn selves. Because we're screw-ups. That's why he had to die on the cross. His death paid for our sin. So all you have to do is accept that gift, because that's what it is. It's a gift. Jesus died and gave that gift of salvation to you. All you have to do is accept it. All you have to do is say, I accept you as my Savior. Thank you for that gift. Blah, blah, blah. You're done. You're saved. That's all there is to it. And then you don't have to be the perfect little choir boy who, goes and volunteers for tribes in Africa and never says a curse word. That's not reality. That's what the church makes you think, but that's not reality. You know what I mean? The reality of the situation, according to Jesus and according to the Bible, is you just have to accept that gift of salvation, and you're covered. Your sins are now paid for. You know what I mean? And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't see any reason why you should be ashamed to be a Christian, because what we believe in is love. Plain and simple. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're a transsexual. I don't care if you're a murderer. I don't care about any of those things, because I love you because you're a sinner and I'm a sinner. We're the same. You know what I mean? I may not have committed the sins you've committed, but we're all sinners. And the Bible says no sin is greater than any other. So we're all the same. You know what I mean? We're all scumbags that need saving. That's the bottom line.
Well, there is one sin. There's two sins you can never be forgiven about. One is taking your own life, and two is to, after being saved, to renounce God. Well, there's an argument on that one, but I know that suicide is unforgivable. I know that's because there's no way to be forgiven because you killed yourself.
Yeah, you can't ask.
Now, the thing what people, I don't see. There's a lot of confusion in the Bible, and we all know that. The one thing that I've always got is, how people, they blame God for everything. Well, what people don't get is, no, God knows your future. He doesn't. He knows. He gives you a choice of what you're going to do, but in reality, we have free will. We're the ones that make the end of the decision. Now, people, well, what about little kids? Well, the problem is, and see, that's the one thing if you don't get a chance to make that free will, somebody else does it for you. See, that's the one thing I'm always kind of was think about. And say you're supposed to die a certain way, but somebody kills you. That wasn't of God. That was somebody doing it on their own free will. See, I always wanted that and wondered that. Is that why we have people say somebody gets murdered, and they didn't die a natural way or die the way God wanted, somebody took their life. What happens then? I never knew. Because then you see people talk about ghosts and and demons and stuff like that. But I always wondered if somebody kills you, do they die, or do they forget? You're just stuck in that reality. I don't know. I'm not saying I agree. I just always thought that in my mind. I know. Have you ever thought about that? How people say that we have free will, so we're the one who makes the choice, but we're going to pay for it in the end. But I'm saying, if somebody kills you, you didn't have free choice to die if somebody took your life. So it was just a question. What's your thoughts about that? I was just going to bring it up.
I don't exactly understand what
I don't
exactly understand what you're asking.
Well, okay, how we have free will. You know that. You understand that. We have free will. But say God, we're all die, but somebody kills you. That was their free will of killing you. That wasn't God's plan. They did it. They had a choice to do it, and then they killed you. What I was wondering is, how we have people say ghosts, and you believe in ghosts. Do you think they get trapped on Earth because of what happened? Is what I was asking. What your opinion was. Now, I'm sorry I didn't explain it better. Now I try to.
We are
a little bit better. Do you think that's why we have ghosts?
We are all trapped on Earth. Okay, after you die, you don't go to heaven right away. You don't go to hell right away.
Yes.
Okay, if you read the Bible, people think that when you die, you go to heaven or you go to hell. That's not what happens. Okay, when you die, you're dead, and you're just kind of hanging out in whatever it is that's there, the purgatory, I guess you would call it. It's like another dimension beside ours, basically, that you exist in until the time of tribulation and everything. And then at the time of tribulation, when the rapture happens, then Jesus gathers up the people from the rapture. And then after the Battle of Armageddon, he gathers up all the dead saints and everybody to live with him in the Millennium Kingdom. That's biblical. That's what happens. So, yes, there is a heaven, and you will go there, but it is not necessarily right away. Okay? And the same thing with hell. When you die, I don't think you're going to hell right away, because the Bible doesn't talk about hell. The Bible talks about the lake of fire where all sinners will be cast out at the final judgment. That final judgment takes place after the Battle of Armageddon at the end of Revelations.
Well,
So it's after, the rapture has happened, after the tribulation period, where the Battle of Armageddon takes place between Jesus and the armies of angels and the good against Satan and his armies, and then Satan is defeated. Him and the Antichrist and the false prophet are cast into the lake of fire, and then there's the final judgment where everybody faces the judgment of God, where Jesus will judge you on whether or not you're saved or not saved, and if you're going to be held guilty for your sin, or if you're not held guilty for your sin. If you're saved, then you get the believer's crown and you hang out with Jesus. And if you're not saved, then you get judged and cast into the lake of fire and you burn forever. You know what I mean? That's what the Bible says. Okay, now that has morphed into there being a literal place called hell where sinners go after they die. I don't know in the Bible where it actually says that happens. That I've heard that a lot in churches, but I've never heard that or read that in the Bible. And I've read the Bible back to back more than 10 times. And I've never seen it talk about sinners going to hell after they die. They talk about getting cast into the lake of fire. You know what I mean? But like I said, that's at the final judgment. That's not as soon as you die. So I think ghosts might be dead people that haven't been judged yet. You know what I mean? Now the idea of heaven is it's kind of back and forth, because I know that after the rapture, all the people that were believers are drawn up into heaven with Jesus, and they have a feast there and everything, and they wait for the time when they come back for the Battle of Armageddon. All the people, the dead saints that were before Jesus, they were all just hanging out, waiting in the afterlife until Jesus came and died. And then I guess they got taken up into heaven. I think if you're saved, then you will go to heaven, right? Even before the final judgment, I think if you're saved, that when you die, you're going to heaven. You're not necessarily going to be hanging out here as a ghost. But people that aren't saved, I think they're hanging out here as a ghost until the time of the final judgment, where they're actually going to be cast into the lake of fire. But there are circumstances where even if you're saved and you choose to stay behind because something like that happened to you, say you're murdered like you said, and you want to watch out for your family or something like that, then I could see you getting trapped there as a ghost and just kind of waiting out all eternity until it's time for you to go. I don't know exactly what happens when you die. That's the problem. None of us really do. I don't know if there's somebody that comes to get you and take you where you're supposed to go, or
no one does,
or if you just kind of are supposed to find your own way, or I really don't know. It doesn't talk about that in the Bible, and unfortunately the only people that know the answer to that question are no longer with us.
Well, that's what it was just a question I have is, so that's what I think ghosts are, exactly what you just said. You just answered my question. That's exactly what I was asking. Sorry I didn't put it in better terms. And I agree. I think that some people do stay to tell people what they kind of warn, what's going to happen if you don't, go the right path. If, like I told people, you're going to believe what you're going to believe. I'm not going to sit here and damn you and I hate you. Like you said, I hope the hell that you realize what you're doing, but you're going to do what you're going to do. I'm not against anybody's beliefs. I believe that what I believe in God, and, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm not a sinner. I sin every day like you do, and, I have to learn from my mistakes. Now, back to what I was going to talk to you about the devil. I have a theory on the devil. I don't know, I'm not trying to offend you in any way, but have you ever, supposedly the devil was the most beautiful angel, and he got 1/3 of God's. That happened in the war with the angels until he got cast out of heaven. What I was going to ask you is, what's your opinion on him? I think my opinion is, you know, for such an angel to do what he did and God to still let him live. Do you think, like, because it says God made everything, he even made the devil. So, do you think that was his first creation, and that's why he hasn't done any, killed him, or threw him away, dealt with him years ago and thousands of years ago, and just, you know what I mean? Do you think is that? I mean, he is going to send him to hell, but he's done a lot, and he's still here, dude. So, I mean, what is your opinion on that? I know I don't really like talking about him, but it's just a theory I had.
Well, God made the angels.
I talked to a couple people about what their theory about that is. It's not that I'm.
God made the angels before he made humans, okay? And Lucifer was one of his favorites, if not his favorite angel.
Yeah, I know that.
And he rose up against God, and like you said, he took 1/3 of the angels with him and led a rebellion. And basically the reason Lucifer rebelled against God was because God made man in his own image, and he wanted the angels to bow to man. And Lucifer was a much more magnificent creation than we were, and he didn't feel he needed to bow to us, an inferior creation. And that's what sparked that little war off between Lucifer and God. God loved Lucifer, and he hasn't dealt with Lucifer yet because it's not time to deal with Lucifer yet. Lucifer has his role to play in the end times, and he will be dealt with at the end. But I mean, God could realistically, if he wanted to, I guess, deal with him at any point in time he wanted to. But another thing we have to realize is time for God is different than time for us. God created the earth in 6 days, okay? And this is always something the science people always argue with you about, because they're like, come on, the Bible says he created the earth in 6 days. That's rubbish. But a day to God is not a day to us, okay? A day to God could be 1,000,000 years for us. Who knows? 10 million years to us. It's a different time scale, because it even talks about in the Bible how time is different in heaven than it is on earth. You know what I mean? And so for God, it might literally be he created angels, he created man. All of history has happened, okay, everything, and it might only be a week or two in God time. You know what I mean? So in God time, he might deal with Lucifer at the end times, and it might be fairly quick for him. In his way of looking at time, he might be like, well, damn, I'll just get around to him tomorrow. You know what I mean? And then tomorrow he kills him. But to us, it's just millions of years have passed. You know what I mean? Since the first creation. I mean, because think, God created the heavens and the earth. And first he created light, then he created the heavens and the earth. And he populated the heavens and the earth with all kinds of creatures and animals and stuff like that. And then he made the Garden of Eden. Then he made us and put us in the Garden of Eden. But there was a lot of stuff that happened in between the time when God first created, light, and then first created land out of the oceans, and the time when we showed up. There was a hell of a lot of time there. But in the Bible, it's only a day. You know what I mean? It's only a day or two that it took God to do all that, and then we show up. So in God time, a day or two is millions of years to us in actual time. You know what I mean? So I mean, I think that's why he hasn't killed him yet, is because in God's view, it's a very short amount of time that has passed since creation.
Yeah. But I mean, the guy's got away with murder. If you look at everything, he doesn't let us get away with that. If you think about it, that's not the only thing he did. He got Eve to eat the apple. He tried to convince Jesus not to get himself crucified. He's going to be a big part of the end of the world. He's the main reason. So I'm just saying, it is kind of baffling that he keeps letting this, even though he's going to kill him. We all know he's going to lose. We know what's going to happen. He continuously lets him get away with everything.
Yeah, but you're not understanding.
He's going to get it in the end, but still, the guy's caused so much problems
You're not
not just in the
understanding.
world.
Here's the thing. Like
Oh, I'm just
mankind,
asking the question. It's not I don't understand. I'm just asking.
we sin all the time. Okay, and you might say, well, I don't understand how God keeps letting, you know, this dude get
Yeah,
away with all this
yeah,
stuff. It's not that Satan is being let to get away with anything. He's going to answer for his crimes at the end of his life, the same way as we answer for our sins at the end of our life. You know, you could be a mass murderer that kills thousands of people,
yeah,
and day after day you keep getting away with it supposedly, but at the end of your life you are judged for all of that. It's no different for Satan. At the end of his lifetime, his lifespan, he will be judged for all of the stuff that he's done. It's just his role isn't done yet. His life isn't through yet. So he still has time to live, and he still has the free will to choose until the day when he dies, the same as we do. You
yeah.
see what I'm saying? It's just his lifespan is a lot longer than our lifespan. So for us, we look at him and say, oh my God, I can't believe he's still getting away with this stuff. But when he looks at it, it's just the span of his life, the same as it's just the span of our life. Like an insect might look at us and say, oh my God, they live a long time, but because they only live a week or whatever. But to us, our lifetime isn't very long at all. It's all perspective. Okay? And with that, we're almost done with the show. We got about 10 minutes left in the show. So is there anything you want to plug before we go, bro?
Um, I'll just say, get ready for next week. We'll be back on We're Screwed with me, Ant-Man, Tony. Um, Sorry we've been gone for 2 weeks. Just say to my family, iHeartRadio, Bravo Vegas, keep following us, the whole Revolution Radio family. That'd be about it, man.
All right, brother. Thank you for being on with me tonight. It was a really fun conversation, and it was really interesting conversation.
And
I
see
like
the new Star Wars.
Yeah, I like having you on because we can talk about things that I can't talk about with some of the other guys. You know what I mean? And that's kind of cool. And so once again, thanks so much for coming on. Stay tuned. On Thursday, I'm going to have another episode of the Writer's Block. This Thursday, I'm going to do a survival show that'll be on survival and a little bit on prepping probably at the end too. But it's basically going to be, I'm going to run through a scenario where, you get dropped off somewhere or you're lost. Maybe you go camping, you get lost in the mountain or the woods or whatever. And I'm going to try to teach you all the things that you're going to need to do to survive that experience and make it back home to your family. Because that's one thing that I do as well, is I have taught, primitive survival skills before. And I love going out in the mountains with just a knife and a canteen. And I can pretty much survive just about anywhere in the world. So I've been talking about doing this show, the survival show, for a while. And I haven't really got around to it because there's been a lot of other things that I wanted to do. And so I think this Thursday I'm going to do the survival show. And hopefully it'll be a pretty cool show. So if you guys are interested in that kind of thing, then you should really enjoy it. And if survival really isn't your bag, if you're not into that kind of thing, you might want to listen anyway, because the information that you get from that might just save your life someday. And that's being real serious, because there's all kinds of people out there that when things happen like Katrina or this Hurricane Matthew that just happened, when things like that happen, if you don't have that skill set, if you don't know what the hell you're supposed to do, it's very easy to die, because the government will not get to you for at least 3 or 4 days. So you've got to be able to take care of yourself for at least that long. You know what I mean? And if you're ever out in a situation where you find yourself out in the wilderness by yourself, or heaven forbid with your family, and they're relying on you to protect them and keep them alive, you really need to know at least the basic information of what you need to do to set up your camp and to make sure that you can survive. So hopefully you guys will tune in for that. Thank you everyone for listening once again, and thanks Old Boy for being on. And I love all you guys. And until I see you again, stay positive and love your life.